asked me to just speak a little bit about time around Baba, because I did spend a fair bit of time. I was just incredibly fortunate for that to be the case. And so I'll just share with you a few things that may bring out something of that strange and wonderful journey. I guess I'd like to start by saying that in my mind, Baba was what I would call a paradox. He was a man who had likes and dislikes, and he could get very angry, as those of us who are around know. He was extremely funny. He was almost fidgety with all that energy of yoga and meditation. And yet he was also beyond just the personality of a human being. Now, when you're around him, that actually is very difficult to come to grips with. Because one minute you're thinking, oh, this guy likes this and he's like this and da-da-da-da-da, and you think you've got that nailed down, and then he switches and he's actually coming from a completely different position in space, actually. And in fact, it was sort of like no position at all, completely free. So I'll start by saying that. Baba was always very fond of saying, if you think the Guru is this body, you're really mistaken. The Guru is the grace that comes through the body. Baba was a great, great yogi, and he spent many years of his life practicing all the yogic arts. And they say that when you practice those arts, it's like you generate and create a fire within yourself. And my experience was that that fire that he created within himself at such an intense level, he was able to share with all of us. No matter what my state of mind, whenever I was around Baba, went to see him, had to do something with him, it was as if everything was just instantly washed away. And it was almost as if I could feel myself being lifted. And that's when I always knew that there's something real about this Guru thing. Because in your mind, when you're away from that, you can concoct all sort of schemes and themes and theories. But in the face of that real energy and power and meditation energy, there's just nothing you can say. One of the things that I found around Baba was that he didn't, it's a sort of a modern term, but he didn't buy into our things. He had a basic teaching. I think of it as a circle, which was it was a Shakti. He had the Shakti to awaken our own energy. He had the teachings that in their right were profound, and he gave them every night. And he had the practices. You chant, you meditate, you do some work around the ashram. And really, that was it. It seemed so simple that you kept waiting for this big thing. And my experience has been that was the big thing. And that is not an easy thing to actually realize and experience. And all of the things that he kept working with us around and teaching us were to have that experience, were to be able to sit for meditation and just clear the mind and sink deep into meditation. And I think he was always giving us the clues, the keys, as it were, to unlock that capability. And they were always contained in the simplest of teachings. Huge amounts of people came. It was just one of those moments where it seemed people started to really get an interest in meditation and spirituality. And Baba's message was incredibly simple. He kept saying, I've come to the US to create a meditation revolution. And people would ask him all of these questions, and journalists would go on, and TV cameras would come, and he would always come back with that simple statement. He said, if you could meditate and understand what's truly within you, you would find that there's a jewel, the like that which you never would have thought. But you need to meditate to do that. It's hard to grasp the day-to-day life with a great being like Baba. Seeing him handle all of the ashram, sort of the mechanics of running the ashram in a way, to see him dealing with people night in and night out, to see him, yes, on the one hand, being very loving and sort of accepting, on the other hand, being very stern, because Baba was very stern. He had a sense of what the spiritual path was and what the discipline of it was, and he was really unwavering when it came to that. Here we are. I see a group like this. We're in Germany. Baba's sitting, he's giving a lecture. He's talking about the spiritual path. People are asking questions, and in Germany they have a lot of questions. On and on it went, and I thought, this is interesting. And finally Baba just stopped. He just said, no, that's enough. No more questions. He said, let me tell you something. You know what this is like? This is like you have a cookbook, and you read the cookbook, but you're starving to death because you don't cook anything. Oh, that hit the nail on the head. If you don't practice, if you don't do the practices, you're not going to get anything. He can't do it for you in that sense. One of the things that Baba had said leading up to the time when he left his body was, because we were all concerned, and he said, when I leave my body, you won't believe it. People are worried. Baba, when you go, what will happen? What will we do? He said, when I leave my body, the Shakti, the meditation, everything will become much stronger. And that 20 years ago, that night which seems like last night, when I had a tap on my door and someone came and they said, come quickly to Baba's place. He's taken Samadhi. And I went down. And in a funny sort of way, the upshot was absolutely right. There was some expansion of this spiritual energy that just spread over the place and through people in the most profound way. The energy, the Shakti, would just not leave. I can remember having dreams, and still do at times, of Baba giving satsang as he did, night after night, always wanting to do it, never, just working himself. And in the dream, and it's so real and it's so vivid, and I can remember Baba looking over at me with a smile as if to say, you thought I was gone, didn't you? No, I'm still here. This is still going on. Come on, let's do what we do. And for me, it's about that spiritual energy, and it's about the fact that the Guru is not the body. The Guru is the spiritual energy, the Shakti that is always with us. If we embrace it, if we do the practices, is if we try in some way to do the teachings. So for me, I think the thing around Baba was always that he was this one moment, he was that a next moment, but in a sense he was always, certainly always the Guru, always that great spiritual teacher who was bringing the revolution. And that revolution continues. One night in South Fallsburg, catching us all by surprise, at the end of an evening program, he picked up a beautiful garland. He called Guruji over, had him kneel right in front of him, put the garland around him very casually, patted him on the back and rubbed him, and he said, he's going to be my successor. And it was just for a moment there was a stillness, and Guruji tells his story about the weight of that garland. But the moment he, just thinking another second, he realized, no, but it's not me. It's that same Shakti of the Guru, of Baba, supporting everything. And it lightens a bit. What I have seen in Swami Nityananda is an incredible capacity to really be true to Baba's teachings, to be true to even to the naturalness and simplicity of Baba's way. Baba was a great yogi, and when he started to reach out to more and more people, he wore nicer clothes, and all of that. But my sense was he was always still Baba. He was always that great, simple yogi that walked around India barefoot. And in picking a successor like Nityananda, he picked someone who, from the very beginning, was very much like him in that sense. Very natural, grew up around Baba, so steeped in the teachings from early times. And true to the tradition of guru-disciple, he comes to talk about the greatness of his Guru and what his Guru had to offer, and invites us to join in the celebration of that great being. Because in the end, and this is, I think, important, always what the Guru says is, what you're seeking is within you. And to the degree that you're willing to pursue that, I can help, but you've got to do it. And he brings that same tradition. You want to join me? Let's chant together. Let's meditate. Let's honor and revel in the great tradition of Swami Muktananda.
Sanandaya Gurave Shishya Samsara Harine Bhaktakare Kadehaya Namaste Chisaratmane Om Namah Shivaya Gurave Satchidanandamurtaye Nishprapanchaya Shantaya Niralambaya Tejase Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunakta Sahaviryam Karavavahe Tejasvina Vadhi Damastu Ma Vidvisha Vahe Om Shanti 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 Sadgurunath Maharaj Ki Jai. Great respect and love. Welcome to our satsang this evening. Many thanks to Larry for sharing his time and experiences with Baba. And I couldn't agree with him more that it would be difficult through words, or at least in a few words, to say what being with Baba or Baba was. We've tried to compile a book for the occasion of the 20th Mahasamadhi. The person began by saying, we'll start with 150 pages. A couple of weeks ago he said, I think we have exceeded the number of pages, so we'll have to decide what we want to cut out. I wrote back to him and I said, let us see what finally ends up being the number of pages when the graphic artist is done, and then we'll decide. And even in those 150, 200 pages, whatever it is that we end up with, it only gives a glimpse of the time that he spent sharing his teachings around the world. It doesn't talk about his youth, his early days, gathering the experiences. It doesn't talk about what's happened in the past 20 years since he left his body. We had lunch today, Swami Shankarananda, Larry, myself, and of course the conversation revolved around Baba. And Swami Shankarananda always wants to know, did Baba know this? Did Baba know that? It's hard to answer these questions, especially now when Baba is not there to ask him, did you really know this? Not that he would have answered anyway. But the scriptures tell us a yogi lives knowing what was, what is, and what will be. And I shared with them a story which remains with me even now. And I think I'll share that. Just to give you an idea of the knowledge, the awareness a yogi carries. I served Baba in his room in India as his, we could say, attendant. Not that I thought of myself as that, but opened the door for him, took deliveries of things people brought for him, and did some dusting and a little vacuuming. There was not much dirt in Baba's room. But you had a job, so you had to do it. And as I look back now, it was also one of the ways he taught us meditation. Because he'd have a table with stuff on it. We were 8, 9, 10, 11 years old. And our job was to remove all that dust and put it back as Baba had it. So, in our mind, the very first thing you had to do was capture the image of all that stuff, which meant you had to get rid of all of the clutter of your mind to photograph that image, so that when dusting was done, to place it all back as Baba would have it. Because if you didn't place it back in the way he had it, he would get mad at you. As Larry said, as loving, as kind, as generous as he was also a very strict, very stern person. But what we remember as we think of him is the love, is the knowledge, is the understanding he carried. Anyway, this story that I want to share occurred in May 1977. Baba had just returned from being in Bombay for 3 months, recovering from a heart attack that he had in February 1977. It was his birthday, and many people had come from all over India because it's vacation time in India, and people had come from around the world as well to celebrate his birthday. The doctors had warned him, told him that he should take it easy and not work too hard. He was getting to be an old man, 69 years old. But Baba was Baba. He didn't care what anybody told him. He was going to do what he had to do and wanted to do. That morning, he ended a 7-day chant that had taken place. Came into his room, he had breakfast. And about 9 a.m. he was scheduled to go up to the Yagna Mandap in the upper garden to end the Yagna, give a talk, and have darshan, greet all of the 1,000 or 2,000 people who had come. Before he left to go up to the mandap, he had an in-house doctor, and then there was a doctor who would visit him on Thursdays and Sundays and on special occasions. He called both of them. He said, after the program, eat lunch and be in my room by 12:30 because I will have a heart attack. Now, how many people say this to their doctor? At least at the age of 14, I didn't know of anybody, and the doctor was smart enough. He knew that if Baba said so, this would come to pass. So they made arrangements for specialists and doctors, cardiologists to come from Bombay to be there at 12:30 when Baba supposedly would have his heart attack. And they ate their lunch. And sure enough, around 12:20, 12:25, Baba finished his lunch. And normally he would come out to the back steps to meet everybody and to share a few moments of little talk, we could say. But on this day he went, he lay down in his bed, he rang his bell, I went in, he said, tell the doctor to come in. So doctor was ready, the doctor came in, and Baba sure enough had his heart attack. About 2.25 hours went by. The doctors spent their time trying to revive this sage because they felt they were specialists, they were the best in their field. They should be able to do what they are supposed to. But nothing happened. About 2:30, Baba opened his eyes. He was surrounded by some specialists from Bombay, his 2 doctors, his nurse, a couple of his trustees, and some of the other people who had come. He looked at all of them. He said, have you had lunch? The doctor said, "No, but Baba, we want you to live. We are trying to revive you." He said, "I am fine. You go have lunch." And Baba, again, like I said, if he said go have lunch, you could not discuss, argue with him that, "Baba, we need to do this or do that. Go have lunch." So they all walked out and had lunch. Sometime later, Baba shared this 2-hour period where he was and what happened. He said, "I went somewhere. In that place, I met my Guru, Bhagavan Nityananda." That was this being here. We had a long talk. He said many things to me. And then, when he was done speaking, he told me, "Muktananda, go back." And I came back. I opened my eyes as if from sleep, and the doctors were standing around me. They thought I was dead. But I was just visiting my Guru. Of course, in my mind, as I think of it, we all come with prarabdha, a allotted amount of time in which we live, we go through whatever it is, then we die, we leave the body. And I think that in Baba Muktananda's life, that period, May 1977, was the end of his karma, of his life. But his work in this planet, on this earth, was not finished. He had not appointed his 2 controversial successors. He had not set up the organization to move forward. So his Guru told him, "Go back. I give you an extra warranty or extra life of 5 more years. Do what needs to be done." And of course, whatever other instructions his Guru gave him in those 2 hours. Baba came back. And if you look at pictures of Baba pre that heart attack and 78 onwards, you see very different people. He was all of a sudden a very young man, even more energetic than he had been, and had this vision of wanting to do a lot. And it was those 3 years, 78 to 82, 4 maybe, that he traveled the world one last time and gave Shaktipat, the experience of awakening of that Kundalini energy, by the thousands. He didn't care whether the person was ready, not ready, the person understood, didn't understand. You came to him, he bopped you, he gave you that Shakti. Some people went berserk. It's like putting 1,000 watts to a 100-watt bulb. And some people got it, that if I do something with this energy, I can be successful in life. Not just in the material wealth, not just in name and fame, but as a human, I will take something with me as I leave this world. So, I always say it is up to us. God, the Guru, constantly bestow their grace, their energy. We are the receivers, the receptacles. How we receive, how we hold, what we do with that energy, the choice is ours. Baba called it grace and self-effort. So the grace is being poured The self-effort is on our part to hold that grace and to do something beneficial, uplifting with it. A mind that is poverty-filled will always complain that there is not enough grace. But a mind that is wise takes a little drop and makes it like an ocean. So Baba traveled from 78 to 81 throughout the world, returned to India for the last year of his life. And that year he took for himself to retract all that which he had put out and to slowly absorb back into consciousness. And even the day he left his body in October 1982, people asked, did he know that he was going to leave? And in my very own instance, that year that we lived in India, I was traveling a lot. He would send me out with the group that was traveling and say, go do my work. And it was during that period I also came here to Australia for 2 weeks, to Melbourne and Sydney with Larry and then Muktananda. And we did programs. And I was scheduled in that first week of October to travel. And he said to me, Muktananda, you're going to go somewhere? I said, yes, Baba, we're scheduled to go to Pune, we're scheduled to go to Goa. He said, stay here. Celebrate your birthday. Now, that was a shock. Because Baba did not believe in celebrating birthdays. It was a waste of time. Because you'd have cake, you'd gossip, you'd sit around. To him, to do anything other than chant, meditate, study, seva was a waste. And so I thought to myself, something is wrong here. Why would he want me to celebrate my birthday, which was October 6th? But anyway, I didn't argue with him. Every day he would tell me, don't go celebrate your birthday, don't go celebrate your birthday. And I would tell him, Baba, yes, I'm staying. They are going, I am not. It was only on October 2nd, on that night, when he left his body, did I realize what he was saying. It had nothing to do with my birthday. The birthday was just an excuse to hold me there, to be there in that moment, in that day, when he left his physical form. And I remember I'd come maybe 2 minutes after he left, standing there by his feet, looking at him and thinking to myself, could this really be true? Or will this be another incident? You can just set it up on the platform. Could this be another incident like May 1977, where he will come back to consciousness and look at us all going, do you really think I have left, that I have gone? And as I've gone through these 20 years, his presence, that grace is there. And as Larry said, we think sometimes enough. And through the picture falling or whatever it is, he reminds us, Muktananda is here. Muktananda is present. You may want to forget. You may want to leave grace aside for a moment. But grace is always there, always present in your life. Simply awaken yourself to the knowledge, to the awareness of its presence, and you will see how it carries you. I'd like to end with a Sufi poem, because, as I said, when I think of Baba, when I think of great beings, I think of love. Because when we forget all of the other dramas, stuff, as I call it, what is left, the essence, is sweetness. The Sufis talk about this in various ways. They talk about the intensity of that love. We all think, I love. But when we experience this, what I call divine love, love without conditions, love without wants, love without desires, and when the whole entire body, the entire being feels that love, we realize that the intoxication, the ecstasy we experience from that, nothing in this world compares to that feeling. So, a Sufi poet named Bulla says, "He who suffers the pangs of love is lost to himself and dances out of tune to the world. Let no one trouble those who suffer from the sickness of love. Those who love like to bear the pain themselves and care for it cheerfully. Even the god of death does not dare to root out the tree of their pain. They control their future, which they know beforehand. Whoever donned the robe of love, he obtained the passport from the Lord. Since I drank the cup which reached me from his abode, I have no doubts or delusions left. He in whom the Lord makes his home always cries, O Lord, where are you? He needs no rhythm nor schooling in music. He's always drunk to the point of madness and knows the truth, as my master, my teacher did. I discovered the truth, and thus the chaos of falsehood ceased for me. I have told you the secret of that truth." So says Bulla. So when we think of Baba, when we think of a great sage, we can simply imagine what this poet is trying to tell us. That so immersed is he in the love of the divine. The world, as we know it, as we experience it, ceases to exist for him. His entire being dances in tune to the divine. And hence, to our mind, to our eyes, it seems out of sync to this world. What is that intoxication? What is that experience? We can only know it by going there, by being in that state. So he says, once having donned that robe of love, once the entire body is filled with that love, one receives the passport from the Lord. Meaning, one can go to visit the divine. One is in the experience of the divine at all times. So, as we think of what is it that a Guru gives us, what is it that we get from him, I would say we get the stamp on our passport to be able to experience, to know, to feel what is God. Sometimes Swamis, Mahamandeleshwars, when we sit casually, say to me, what was it with Baba, with Muktananda? He didn't speak the language, yet he impressed or had an impact upon thousands of non-Hindi speaking people. And I look at them the only thing I can say is he had the ability, the capacity, the power to give individuals the direct experience of God. And I know that as we sat in His presence, when we allowed the mind to become still for a moment, we would experience the very state He was in. And it was that we tasted, which brought us again and again to be with Him. As Larry said, first to spend the summer, then a year, and then next thing one knew was life. And even today, what propels us is the taste of that experience. We all do whatever we do because we think, I must do this. But yet inside us burns this fire, this desire to love, to know, to understand. What is that divinity, that truth, that God, that Muktananda, the sages before him, talked about? And we all know that when we drop this egocentric idea of I, when for a moment we forget this individuality, within ourselves there is the direct experience of truth. And it is this truth that we seek. And as I sometimes in my own company think of the wonderful people that surround us, that we have, that in Shanti Mandir we have the great fortune of being with people who spent many years with Baba. Of course, first I laugh at all of the dramas, the ego plays, the roles that we all have. And then when we all drop that, who we think I should be, there simply is that experience of love. And to me, as I was thinking about this day today, it is Thursday. In India we call it the day of the Guru. Many people, if they are close to where their Guru lives, definitely go, have his darshan, spend a few minutes with him, and absorb that experience of love, of Shakti from their Guru. We chanted the Guru Gita, we spent the morning together. And again, it's not like we sat around and said, okay, let's discuss what the Gita says, let's discuss what Baba has to teach. But just simply being with each other and experiencing that joy, that love of being with one another, filling the cup of the mind with that unsaid love, with that unknown, undescribable love. And in the afternoon, just sharing moments, thoughts of Baba. And all of the interesting characters that lived with Baba. And to realize that you actually need to be a siddha to control all of those various people that he had around him. And my only answer to that also is, you actually have to be a little bit crazy to live with a siddha. Because the level of energy, the intensity that is around him, the power that exudes out of him, you have to let go of the mind and simply allow yourself to be in that energy. So, this was being with Baba. This is being with Baba, because that grace is not limited to the man, to to the body, to the person, but it is ever present as consciousness. All we have to do is allow ourselves to tap into it. We can think of it like outlets, electrical outlets. They are all over the room, they are all over the world. All you have to do is go inside and the power flows through you. So in the same way, the effort we have to make is to allow ourselves to be connected, to be plugged in. And if we are, that juice, that grace flows through us. So we will do two things now. One, as you see, a projector is up. There are different moods of Baba that will be projected up on the screen. At the same time, we will do the chant number 19 on your sheet. Words are very simple. Om Namo Bhagavate Muktanandaya. I offer my salutations to the Lord Muktananda. It says, you watch Baba as you chant, and if you met him, think of the feeling, the experience, the grace you felt in his presence. If you never met him, allow yourself to just go inside and connect to that divinity, to that truth that is inside of you. That is what is Muktananda. Because Muktananda, the word actually means bliss of freedom. So we'll chant, we'll have his darshan, and we'll end our program with that.